The engineering accomplishments of the ancient Egyptians are much admired and celebrated. Revolutionary and pioneering, the pyramids, temples, and tombs, which have survived through millennia, are all examples of innovative and complex architecture, construction, and design methods that historians of today still seek to fully understand. But perhaps less is known about how the ancient Egyptians became some of the first canal builders in the world. Around 2300 BC, the third king of the 6th dynasty, Pepi I, ordered construction of a canal at Aswan, enabling the movement of obelisks and statues from the quarry to the River Nile. The Grand Canal, built around 1850 BC, linked the Red Sea with the Nile Delta, offering indirect passage to the Mediterranean. The canal was reconstructed numerous times over the subsequent centuries, under the aegis of such varied personalities as the Persian king Darius the Great, the Roman emperor Trajan, and Arab military commander Amr ibn al-As, who conquered Egypt in 640 AD. The canal was destroyed in 770 AD by al-Mansur, the founder of Baghdad, in order to cut off a vital supply line to his enemies. But it would be more than a millennium before another waterway opened a passage between the Mediterranean and the Red Sea. Let's hear from Professor John P. Cooper, a specialist in maritime archaeology and Arabic, to tell us more.
When we think about the Suez Canal, we think about the modern Suez Canal. We think of it as this kind of triumph of modern engineering. What's not really ever talked about is the fact that this was by no means the first canal that succeeded in making a connection by water between the Mediterranean and the Red Sea. The modern Suez Canal connects the Mediterranean Sea to the Red Sea direct, whereas the ancient canal used to connect the River Nile to the Red Sea. If we just have a glance at the map, we see that there is a point at which the Red Sea and the Mediterranean come very, very close together. This narrow point between the two seas is also a fault line between two tectonic plates. So not only do you have a close point between the two seas, but you also have a landscape which is amenable to the idea of excavating a canal. It's got a very, very long history. It started with Necho, the Saite, 26th dynasty pharaoh, having a go and possibly not succeeding. Then it was followed by Darius, the Persian, who we know succeeded. During the Ptolemaic period, they were a Hellenistic dynasty. Ptolemy completed the canal. He founded a city at its mouth called Arsinoe. Now that's more or less where Suez is nowadays. He talks about how they founded new colonies across the Red Sea, how they hunted for elephants from these new colonies, put them on ships, sailed them back to Egypt up the Red Sea, and sailed them on the canal, because elephants were very good in wars. They were the tanks of their day. The next chapter in the life of the canal is the Islamic conquest of Egypt. The Caliph says, right, we need this canal to be re-excavated. This is probably its 5th reincarnation. It runs for about 150 years. At the end of that 150 years, there are rebellions in Arabia, and so the new Caliph, who's now in Baghdad, orders that the canal is blocked. He thinks if he can stop the supply of food from Egypt, then he'll curtail the rebellion. And that really is the last time that we see the canal until the 19th century. We have indigenous Egyptian, we have Ptolemaic, we have Roman, we have Arab, we have Persian, we have several ancient and medieval dynasties that succeeded in creating a canal long before the modern Suez Canal existed.
The modern-day Suez Canal opened with an elaborate ceremony on November 17, 1869, following 10 years of construction. Work was originally begun by hand, with labourers toiling with picks and spades, but soon a more efficient process was introduced, using dredgers and steam shovels. Stretching from Port Said in the north to Suez in the south, it connects the Mediterranean Sea in Europe with the Red Sea between Africa and Asia, making it one of the most important and lucrative shipping lanes in the world.
The reason that the modern Suez Canal was created in the 1860s was in order to facilitate trade between Europe and European possessions overseas. And of course, the British were particularly interested in this because it connected Britain with such important colonies as India. There was a strong economic incentive. This is the period, sort of peak of European imperialism. European powers controlled a lot of Asia. It was strategically hugely important, and everybody wanted to have a stake in it. The British were reluctant to be involved in the first place, but at the same time they were very nervous of the idea that it would be the French who were in control of a canal, which was the best way to get from Britain to its imperial possessions in Asia.
The canal is 102 miles long and reaches 673 feet wide and 79 feet deep. It's known as an open cut, a canal without any locks. The route takes in several lakes, Lake Manzala, Lake Timash, and the Bitter Lakes. Only 2 of these lakes allow north and southbound ships to pass each other, at the Bala Bypass and Great Bitter Lake. Along the banks of the canal, stark desert sands stretch into the distance, and small patches of swaying palms are fed by canal waters. Nearby lies the town of Ismaila, known as the City of Beauty and Enchantment, which was built to serve the canal's construction and maintenance. An upgrade was completed in 2015, following billions of dollars of investment from the Egyptian government, which added an additional 18 miles to the length of the canal. Today, transiting the canal can take between 11 and 16 hours. Most of the container ships using the canal are transporting oil, coal, ores and metals, as well as cement, fertilizers and grain. Each year it generates revenues of around $5 billion for the Egyptian government. While most of the vessels transiting the canal are cargo ships, guests sailing on Viking's world itineraries will have the opportunity to sail the canal and travel from Egypt onto Israel as part of their worldwide voyages. And guests on other grand voyages and longer itineraries have the opportunity to take an excursion from Port Said to visit the Ismailia Museum and board a ferry to travel across the Suez Canal.